starting to reach the make or break moment right now. As you can see here, it looks like we are about to have a huge dump, but then it also looks like it wants to come up at the same time. So we're going to talk about this. Remember, I'm not a financial advisor. None of this is financial advice, but let's just get straight into it because we're seeing craziness inside of Bitcoin right now. Right now, we are at 2.9% down in the last 24 hours. And in the last 7 days, now we're at 8.7%. So that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. In the last 2 weeks, we're down 19%. And in the last month, 24%. In the last year, 42%. So yeah, I do believe that this bear market's almost over. Just give it till October or September, and then it'll be over. But right now is not the time, right? October, September, November, somewhere around there. But what I do want to talk about is this right here. This is the 4-hour chart on Bitcoin right now. And as you can see, you can look at this MACD here. And as you can see, we are building this divergence right here. So this is bullish divergence. And with bullish divergence, we still get these lower lows on the chart. And then we're getting these higher lows on the MACD. So as you can see here, it's about to pull back here. So now we're about to get the higher low on the MACD, which means that now we are about to get that pullback. So as we come here and we get a higher low on the MACD, maybe it won't be that much selling pressure. Maybe it's a little bit, and maybe it's only like that much and then some buying. But even if that is the case, then what we would end up seeing is a push down here and then more buying coming in for Bitcoin. So we should get another lower low coming here inside of Bitcoin if we truly are building bullish divergence. We'll get that lower low before we actually do take off. So it does look like it's going to eventually pull back here. This is the 4-hour chart, by the way. So we're about to get that next lower low here on Bitcoin. We'll see how that is. And there is a possibility for us to push up here to this 50-day moving average and then have that pullback, right? And then that'll just look like a little bit of a trap. And then it'll just immediately start selling off and going down from there. So we'll see if something like that happens. But yes, I do believe whether it goes down there and it does it right now, or it tries to come up here and then it gets rejected at that 50-day moving average and then continues downwards. That's just kind of how it's looking like right now to me. And I think it might actually hit that, because if you look at this would look like a bear flag, right? It does look like we are kind of building a bear flag. So what I would say is if we do have a breakout, maybe it does go up and hit that 50-day moving average, right? And then we just have this bear flag and then we have a continuation downwards, right? Something like this, and then having that continuation downwards. So that's also the possibility for right now. And as you know, bear flags are bearish signals, bearish patterns. So that is a possibility for Bitcoin right now. And this is just kind of a short-term view. I'm trying to get these videos out daily just so you can kind of see what's happening inside of Bitcoin day by day. So that's pretty much what we're having right now inside of Bitcoin on the short-term time frame. And then if you look over here at the %R trend exhaustion, I talk about this all the time. When you have this white line, the long-term or the short-term trend breaking way past this blue line, which is the long-term trend, then you always have a pullback coming into the market, right? You always have a pullback. So since we had that coming, we're now having that pullback. So now we're probably going to have that pullback even further down. So that's exactly what happened on all these other times. If you look at all these other areas here, well, just look at these two right here. This one and this one, that's the second. And then we have this one, that's the third. So we have those 3 areas right there. And if you look at what happened, all 3 times, you had the same exact pattern, right? You had the same exact formation on the charts all 3 times. You had that one right there. And this is another one right here, the same formation. And then the same bear flag right here as well. So we had all of those different bear flags. And not only did we have all 3 of those looking the same, right? I have another example I can show you of this inside of the stock market, right? So if I pull up the SPY, I was actually doing puts on SPY earlier today because this thing was dumping hard. And I'm talking about super hard. Same exact thing that was happening all day today on SPY, which was why I'm like, you got to pay attention to these patterns. Same exact thing here. And on the %R trend exhaustion, I made 150% of what I was trading today, right? 150% inside of gains. One of my trades was 600%, but I didn't go all the way in on it. That's why total for the day, I'm up 150%. But I had a trade that was 600% just because I just kept shorting it, just kept putting puts left and right. You can see same thing happened there. Same thing happened right here. And let's bring this down a little more. And then we have the same thing right here. And the whole time you're seeing this buying pressure But the MACD is on the downside because it's a seller's market right now. Like everybody is super bearish right there. It's just super bearish. So you're just having all of this bullish divergence waiting to pop off, and then it finally pops off right at the end of the day. And then boom, it finally pops off, right? And that's kind of how bullish divergence is. It gives you these lower lows, and then eventually you get to the end of it, and then you just break out, right? Eventually you get to the end of it, like how it is back here, and then you just break out from there, right? And if you look at this is exactly how it happens, right? So that is why I am talking about Bitcoin in the bullish divergence so much. Yes, we have a bullish divergence, but we have to create those lower lows before we can have a continuation, because that was just looking at the 1 minute chart. That's how it looks on the 1 minute chart, right? And that's just me, day trading. But when you look at it from the perspective of Bitcoin, like this is going to happen over months, right? From now till October or September, or November, somewhere towards the end of the year. And that's why I keep mentioning it. Like, yeah, you might get these little pushes upwards and get rejected at the 50-day moving average like that and then continue down. But, eventually you're going to find your way all the way down, because this is still bullish divergence, even looking at it on the 4-hour chart. So as we get some selling pressure, it might not be that much selling pressure. It might be just enough to get a little bit more of a pullback to come down to the 50K area. And that's kind of how I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it going down to like 50K, possibly going below it like 48, 45. But I think 50K is that level to watch for with Bitcoin. And then same thing, let's pull up the daily chart. If you look at the daily chart, this is the start of that bullish divergence, which pretty much just means that we're about to get some buying pressure coming in. And like I said, we're probably going to get that bull trap. You're going to see the bulls buying in as that bull trap starts to form, right? If we do form a bull trap, you're going to start seeing a lot of people trying to get in right now. And again, that could push us up to here, even to 68K. Let's say there was a bull trap and then another massive dump from there. So either way, it's looking pretty bearish right now, right? And we are at the oversold region here, but remember it could stay oversold for, an extended period of time. You don't want to, you don't want to doubt it pretty much. You don't want to doubt these charts. So we'll see what's going to happen here. And then we look at the weekly chart here, you can kind of see the same thing with the bullish divergence. And I think the weekly chart explains it the best, right? The weekly chart is the best way to explain it in a long-term perspective, right? Because you pull it up, I mean, that's clean. That's a clean bullish divergence chart, right? We're going to get a lower low. That's pretty much what's about to happen. We're going to get a lower low here. So when you look at it, it's just clean bullish divergence. All it's waiting is for that next pullback, and then that's the next lower low. And then this will go up like this, and then we'll have another pullback, and then the last lower low will be right here. The next lower low is right here. And then after this one, which is why I keep marking around the end of the year, will then take off pretty much. So that's what we're looking for. And it might not be that spread out, right? It might happen a little bit differently. It might be a little bit less spread out like this, and then, just a little bit of buying pressure and then a pulling back here. And then sometime around October, having a takeoff from there, having it just take off from there. So that's pretty much how I'm expecting this to go. I'm just expecting some selling pressure to come in here. And again, bullish divergence, that's going to bring those lower lows. So that is pretty much the strategy here. So we're going to see that selling pressure here. We're going to see that MACD pushing down on the weekly chart. And then on the weekly chart for the percent R trend exhaustion, we're still coming down into this oversold region on the weekly chart. So we tapped it once down here, and now we're trying to kind of have an intersection here and have like a double bottom, and then come up from there. So that's what we're looking at for this. And when you look at it, what happened last time in 2022, it didn't just touch this region and then stay out of it. It touched the region, it came back. Actually, you can see how it touched it here, the oversold region. It touched it, it came back, it touched it again, went down a little bit, went up, another bull trap, and then went down again. Right, so we can see something like that here, just a bunch of traps left and right, ultimately bringing us down to like anywhere from 40 to 50K, right? So something like that could happen. We'll see. We'll see if it gets even lower than that. I remember before I was saying 28K because of some math I was doing with these charts. I was just looking at it and I was like, 28K could be the complete bottom. But I think realistically, we should target 40 to 50K. Realistically. Now, if you look at it from a major dump point of view, then maybe 35K. But I think 40 to 50K is more realistic for the just for most people. Most people should just look for 40 to 50K. I mean, if you get in at 40K and it goes down to 35K, I mean, you damn near caught the bottom, right? And if it goes down to 30K, I mean, you still damn near caught the bottom. So I think 40K is that level, but anywhere from 40 to 50. All right, so that's how I'm looking at it. And then if you look at the monthly chart here on Bitcoin, you can see that we're getting more selling pressure here on the monthly chart. That's a lot of selling pressure, so we're probably going to get a little bit more here. So that looks like it's going to keep going until it's inside this oversold region down here. So once we start getting in that region, that means it'll probably end up stopping, and that'll probably be down here somewhere. So some more selling pressure could come. So hey, maybe we could see that 28K that I've been talking about. Maybe we could see it getting all the way down to 28K and 30K area, right? But either way, we're dumping. Don't be too stubborn. Don't be too stubborn. I'll just say that. Now, this is the 50-day moving average that we are tapping here. So we are tapping the 50-day moving average on the monthly chart. So again, some people think that we can't go below the 50-day moving average. They think it's impossible. But it is possible for this to wick below it and to go below it just a little bit. Because as you can see back here in 2022, it did go below the 50-day moving average, right? It did go below the 50-day moving average. And that's the red line there. It went all the way to 15K. The 50-day moving average was like at 22K. It crossed down below there. So if you look over here, if we were to actually go below the moving average, we would probably, again, like I said, hit like 50K, right? We would come down it below it just a little bit, hit this 50K support right there. And really it's like 49K, but it's off a little bit on here, but it's really like 48, 49K. But that support right there is that support that you really want to watch when we come down out of that from this 50-day moving average and we hit the support. That's really where you want to watch, and that support is right here, 50K, 49K, whatever you want to say. But huge resistance back inside 2022 with that, and then huge support back in 2024 with that level. So 50K is a very, very huge level. So watch out for it. I'm going to keep my eyes out on that one. But yeah, go ahead, hit the like button, subscribe. This is pretty much all I got for that. I do want to talk about some other things, though. So before you click off, let's talk about what some people are talking about here. So this person, he's called Against Wall Street. It says, still don't believe in Bitcoin cycles. You got to check this out. Are we in a simulation? So he's saying that we're about to do a double bottom. So that's what this person's saying right here. He said that this is the bottom. He said that we're hitting the bottom, like we're at the bottom. If you look right here where it says 2022, how it did a double bottom there, he's pretty much saying that we're going to do a double bottom. And he's saying that it looks the same. Now, it does look similar, all right? I'm not going to lie. It does look very similar. But I don't want to say it's going to do that just because it looks similar, right? If you look at it, let's take off every single drawing we have on this map. And if you look at it from the monthly chart here, it looks super similar, doesn't it? It does. Looks super similar. But what I would say right here, we're kind of in this region where we're not necessarily bottomed out yet. But some people are like, oh, we're bottomed out. But no, I think we're bottomed out when we drop below the 50-day moving average, right? When we go below the 50-day moving average, that's when I believe that we're bottomed out, which should be around 50K. So, everyone has a different opinion on it, though. As you can see, mine is different from that person's, but, to each their own. And then we have this person over here. He's talking about Bitcoin is now hovering at the same exact level where every bull trap ends. So he's saying next week, another bearish rejection will send Bitcoin back to 54K. And then he said to 47K as his bottom. And then he said from there going to 87 and 151. So we'll see if this person's right. He's trying to call exact numbers on exact days, well, exact months and weeks, which I think that's not too realistic. But he said by next week, we'll be at 54K in Bitcoin. By July, we'll be at 47K in Bitcoin. By January, 151K. I don't know if you can just call it month by month like that. I mean, that's just kind of ridiculous. By January, right? Like the year hasn't even started yet, and then all of a sudden by January, now you're at 151K. I think that's where he's kind of getting this mistaken. I say by January, we probably come back up to like 50K, and then we start the bull market, and then we start going 55, 60, right? Not just all the way up to 151K by January. I think that's just insane to think about. It takes a longer time, and even in his own analysis, he has it shown here. Like, it takes more than a few months, right? It takes more than a few months to get all the way up to 151K, right? He even has it here. So, you just got to follow your own predictions. But yeah, like I said, anywhere from 40 to 50K, anywhere from 40 to 50K. There's also the possibility of 28K to 35K. Those levels are some support levels. And I'll show you those levels. Those are important levels to look at because I don't want to just say those levels and then not actually show you. So I guess for the people that didn't make it this far in the video, they're probably not feeling it. All right. But these levels are important. These are important levels. And that's why I have them marked here on my charts. So 40K, we came back and hit 40K a few times. So 40K was a significant resistance back in January of 2021. And that was 40.7K to be exact. And then as soon as we got past it right here, we just started going crazy. All right. So it was resistance there. And then you had it also as resistance right here inside of May 27th, May 28th, May 26th of 2021. And then we had right here, June 15th, 2021, the same resistance. So those are important levels for Bitcoin, right? When Bitcoin hits these levels, it usually gets rejected or it goes up more. So as you can see here, we have that as resistance. We have this as support, and this was a whole support area. It stayed at the same support for a whole week. For a whole week, it stayed at that same support. So 40K is a very significant support. And then you can see we hit it more times, right? We came over here, we hit it inside of January of 2022. We came over here and we hit it as support in March of 2022. All right. And then we just stayed around that region for a long, long time, right? We had more times of hitting it over here. And I can keep showing you different instances where it used the same level. Like if you come over here and you look at it again, we have the same 40K level being used over and over again. We have 40K as support December of 2023, and then late December 2023 we had the same support. We had it as support right here of January 18th and January 19th of 2024, and then we haven't touched it since then. So since we haven't touched it since then, I think we're about to start retesting those levels. And then that's why you also have to look at 38K, because 38K is this significant support that we had here, January 23rd of 2024. And that was a very, very significant day, because when we spiked down there, people thought, oh, nope, it's over. Bitcoin is done. Nope, it did not. Because we also used that as resistance back here, major resistance, and also had it as support levels back here as well, 38K. So that's why I say you got to pay attention to these little micro, I like to call them micro support levels, micro resistance levels. You can call them whatever you want, right? I call my Fibonacci's my macro levels. And then I just look at these as like little micro levels that I mark throughout time, right? We used it as support here, 38K. And yeah, so we can go ahead and just look at it from that perspective and say, we probably have a little bit lower to go, right? We probably have a little bit lower to go. I know a lot of people are really happy to see some type of pumping, right? Because we go all the way down to like 59K and then it starts to go up again. But you got to be really patient when you're inside of these markets like this. You got to be really, really patient. So patience is key. If we're going to continue to sell off, I wouldn't be too quick to jump on the gun and buy it up, right? This looks like it's going to come down more to me. This is the monthly chart. I think it's going to come down here to this oversold region, and I think it's going to go back up just like it did last time. So just give it some time. And again, it'll probably end up doing that by the end of the year. Look, if this does it the same exact way it did before, by the end of the year, it should be hitting that level and then going back up, right? Last time it did it by December 1st of 2022, and then it just started going crazy. So I think we're going to have a similar situation. All right. But yeah, this is all I got for you guys today. Go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe. Remember, I'm not a financial advisor. None of this is financial advice. Leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think about this. And as always, I'll be back with another video.